Okay. And with that being said, we are going to pivot to the next position that we're going to cover. So on the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, we are doing summer scouting, and this is really early. We're May 3rd, so this is really early in the process. The NFL Draft literally finished last weekend, but we are now going to pivot to running backs. So, Anthony, what running backs have you watched and liked so far?
Yeah, so, I think the very obvious big name that everyone's probably already heard of, but, you have to talk about him anyway, Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. Just a elite when it comes to just speed and burst, and especially for his size. He's 6 foot 212, but he is definitely at least like a 4.3 speed guy, if I had to guess. Super athletic. There's a play, I forget now who it was against, but made an incredible hurdle over a defender. I want to say Penn State, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm sure if you look up Jeremiah Love hurdle, you'll find it. But yeah, and I think he checks every box in terms of physical traits and just overall physical talent. So I think he has some things to work on. There's also the question of workload, but I think he's got all the talent is there. A couple other guys, Mekhi Hughes. He just transferred from Tulane to Oregon this year, so I would fully expect him to sort of take the Jordan James role that we saw from Jordan James last year. I think he's another guy. He's got really good, quick first step, able to burst through the hole, and then has that second gear to run away from people. And I actually think he's a pretty decent blocker as well. Also, 0 fumbles, which I always think is a underrated plus for running backs in general. Jonah Coleman from Washington, who I think was a guy that some people thought would come out this past year, but didn't. He went back to school. Bigger back, bigger as in stockier, I should say. He's 5'9", but he's 229. He is that guy that is just, you're never going to get him down on the first hit, constantly breaking tackles. I think he has really good vision as well. I think you just got to add more as a receiver. You'll see against Oregon, he has a really bad drop against them, and also his only fumble, but in his defense, he kind of got mollywopped, and I think anyone would have fumbled on the play he did, but nevertheless, Jonah Coleman's solid. Who else do I have here? I talked about Jeremiah. Nick Singleton is another one I thought would declare this past year, but didn't. He went back to school for Penn State. He is, I think, the prototypical, the NFL running back that you want in terms of 3-down guys. He's dynamic as a runner with burst and explosiveness. He has and good contact balance as well. He's probably the best receiver out of all the backs that I've mentioned so far, and maybe out of any running back in college football. You kind of just wonder if he can be a true workhorse, because he does have a sort of rotational role with Kaytron Allen, who is another running back that will probably be in the draft as well this year. But Nick Singleton, I think, has a lot higher upside than Kaytron Allen does, and I would fully expect him. I think he would have been in the top 50 conversation if he had come out this past year. So if he's able to build on that, I think first round is very possible. And finally, I'll talk about Darius Taylor from Minnesota. He is fairly well built. He's 6 foot 215. I think he follows his blockers really well. Very much a downhill runner, I'd say. He'll keep his legs driving and lower his shoulder when he needs to. And I think he's actually one of the better pass blockers as well. So he does have some, preliminary value on third down, I would say. Mainly just, he's not going to be that, the breakaway guy that like a Jeremiah Love is or a Mekhi Hughes is, but definitely a guy that could get some early down touches for you in the league and then could potentially grow into being more of that 3-down guy.
Okay, so you got to Singleton, but you haven't gotten to Allen yet?
I have. He's not in my top 100. I'm not a big Katron Allen guy, but
okay.
he's there.
Got it. Okay. Any other running backs to mention?
One to watch, I'll say, C.J. Donaldson. He just transferred from West Virginia to Ohio State. I think the interesting thing with him, and he had a very good season at West Virginia. He weighed 238 pounds, something like that, like tied 230s when he was at West Virginia. I've read he's now transferred to Ohio State, who obviously just had 2 running backs that were taken in the top 40 this past draft. And he's lost, I think he's down to like 227 in that range. So he's lost about, 10, 15 pounds, which for me, the biggest issue I had when watching him was sort of just like explosiveness and, just quick burst, that kind of thing. So if he loses, if he has lost that weight and is able to, in turn gain that explosiveness and quickness, for a guy that's 227 pounds, he could be definitely one to watch, especially again, like at Ohio State, where we've seen them churning out running backs as of late.
Cool. So I like the C.J. Donaldson call out. That was definitely a new one. So all of the players that are being discussed will be added to the Draft Professor Simulator if they are not already. C.J. Donaldson was the first player that we've discussed so far today that was not included already. Any other running backs that you like?
Let's see. No, I think that pretty much covers anyone that I would say is like a top 100 guy at least. I think that
right.
That's pretty much who I've got at this point.
Right. And if I understand the fidelity by which you're communicating is you're communicating players right now that you're confident will be in your top 100 at the end of the summer based upon your history of how you've graded players before.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. These guys could be, yes, these guys likely, I'd say, will be in the top 100. Again, I think in this case, maybe Donaldson would fall out, but I fully could expect him to be there. And this is also because I'm also kind of just basing this on like how I've graded them. And like all of the guys I just mentioned are either mostly their day 2 grades. So if they have a day 2 grade, I would expect them to be, at least like top 100, if not like top 50 or 75. So that's my expectation. Could there be a world where there's day 2 grades? There's just so many guys that have day 2 grades on them that people get knocked down. Sure. But I would be pretty surprised if that happened. So yeah, I would expect that. I would expect pretty much all those guys to be top 100.
And while you mentioned Singleton and we brought up Katron Allen before, you're not mentioning Katron Allen just because you're not high on him to include him in your top 100, but that is a running back that you are familiar with as well, right?
Yes, because Katron Allen and Nick Singleton both were candidates to come out last year. So I watched both of them. I watched Singleton more because I was higher on him. But Katron Allen is just a very, he's the thunder to Singleton's lightning, so to speak, where he's this big body. He'll run through you, very, the goal line guy that you want at running back. I just don't think he has NFL quickness and NFL speed to really factor in, besides in like goal line, short yardage situations. So that's my issue with him. I think he's an NFL draft prospect, but no, not top 100.
Okay. So we have finished wide receivers and running backs. We're